You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband. I don't mean him, though. I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording, and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. Well, hello, smart women, and welcome back to the Why Smart Women podcast. Today it is a beautiful spring day here in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. And as I said a couple of days ago, I don't want to brag, but it is pretty extraordinary. It's an extraordinary place to live. But of course, within living in this extraordinary place, as we do, there are still some crazy people that say some crazy things and organize some crazy marches. So today I am talking to my favorite debunker in the entire world, and that is Mr. Snarky Gherkin. Hello, Snarky.
Hi, Annie. Nice for you to have me back. Thank you. It's always great.
I know. Well, we've been trying to actually get you back now for almost 2 months, haven't we?
I know my ASIO agent just hasn't allowed me the time. I keep
Yeah,
asking him
yeah,
when can I, and just to get approval and sign off,
yeah.
and
And you
it
just
just gets
can't,
caught
can
up
you?
in the
Yeah,
bureaucracy. So I'm
yeah.
glad I've just gone rogue and decided to come on. So here we
Yeah,
are,
so yeah,
thankfully.
so I hope that I hope this doesn't result in you being, abducted and sent to a safe house or anything like that for the next
Yeah,
six
maybe we'll
years.
see. We'll see. If I go missing, you know what's happened. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
but who would I report it to? You see, it's like black ops, isn't it?
The vegetable bureau or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, well, we'll
That's
figure it
right.
out.
The Gherkin
Yeah,
Bureau.
that's right. That's right.
So
The
we're
jar.
Snarky and I are joined today by my dog Ryder. Um, Listeners can't see him, but listeners who have been attuned to the story of Ryder's mishaps. Snarky's not aware of them. I'll quickly fill him in. Ryder swallowed a Lululemon sock, and that resulted in a long and involved surgery. And but he's having his stitches out tomorrow. And
Let's get Ryder in the thumbnail. He could be a part of the Gherkin verse
yeah,
officially.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think he is in the Gherkin verse, and
yeah,
we
yeah.
know we know for a fact that there was something covert going on, because I tell you how I know that, Snarky, is because I don't wear Lululemon. So
Okay.
I don't want to make too much of it, but I'm going to. Somebody somewhere has fed my dog a Lululemon sock knowing it was going to result in surgery. So I'm seeing
Mm,
some definitely covert activity going on. What do you reckon?
I reckon sounds sketchy. It does. I have to think about that, lament
Yeah.
on it for a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
contemplate that. So,
that's
what
right.
Snarky and I are going to talk about today, apart from the secret sock feeding to my dog, is the cooker wars, what we fondly refer to as the cooker wars. So, how did we get here, Snarky? How come we're in this position where the cookers, who are our sort of ragtag collective of conspiracy theorists, how come they're now at war with each other, and why does it matter?
Well, my I've got several theories on the go at the minute. I think one of them is they all have the hero narrative complex in their brains, so
Yeah.
they all want to be the leaders. Yeah, so it's all splintered. I mean, there's definitely a lot of grift involved. They all see something lucrative in it, a lot of them, and so they want a part of it. But
Yeah.
I had to write together a bit of a chronology this morning because it's just getting so
It's getting
complicated.
complex. Over here in
It,
Australia, we must say that the cooker activity has been getting a bit febrile. And for those of you
yeah.
who live in foreign lands, you would be unaware that we have this sort of collective of conspiracy theorists, and they've been very, very busy. in the last couple of months, have they not, Snarky?
That's right. And they don't have a an overarching sort of narrative anymore either. So during the lockdowns, it was all anti-lockdown and they were really unified. Where now it's just like real broad stroke terms, like no corruption and stuff. And it's like, yeah, no one's for corruption, but
Yeah.
what
What
precise
corruption?
corruption are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then they'll come out with like the list of the 27 or some bizarre like kind of crap that they've found that doesn't, it's all just loopy land stuff.
It's loopy.
Um,
Yeah,
I
these
think,
very broad
you know,
brushstroke statements like
yeah,
no corruption and the government is out to get us. That sort of
yeah,
thing is very hard to counter, isn't it? Because what are you
yeah.
actually talking about?
Yeah, and it's the same, like sort of thinking this recently around one of the talking points. So I think the main talking points, the three main talking points that I can recall top of my head is like no more mass migration, um, energy prices, and um, would be corruption, right? So on the face of it to normies, it's like most people are like, yeah, okay, but first of all, it's like define what you mean by mass migration.
Oh
You
no,
didn't.
no. Okay, so
You
we did talk
yeah,
about this last time. I remember talking about
yeah,
this mass. This is prior. We talked about the bullshit notion of mass
yeah.
migration being
Mm.
is pretty much the central issue between every single thing that's going wrong in the
But
country,
you
right?
realize it's
Yeah,
just yeah. You scratch the surface and it's just anyone that's not white.
yeah,
Like that's what we. It's not even clear if that's even the case. Like they want to some far right politicians just want to freeze to all migration for 5 years and just so we can see what happened. It's just like it's any genuine critique or proposal for maybe the skilled migration visa does need a retweaking. Like is events or event coordinators as essential as say tradies? I don't know. Like it's there are probably some genuine critiques and discussions we had, but all of that's just been railroaded completely
yeah.
by the nonsense of these groups, and it's a shame that um that they've probably done more harm than anything in terms of trying to like get genuine reform. Same with like energy prices and things. It's like no one's happy about them, but they also rub shoulders with a lot of these mining oligarchs and stuff, and who are responsible in some part to the increase in energy.
Yeah, yeah.
They fund Sky News, they fund
Who
various
funds
other.
Sky? Who are you saying funds Sky News?
Well, there's like Gina Reinhardt, etc.
Yeah,
They pump money into various media outlets, and or they manipulate it in certain ways. Um, I can imagine if the government tried to put in genuine reform with energy companies, like the first thing a lot of these like far right conservatives would be saying is, "Oh, this is overreach. This is
yeah,
etc." So if they tried to put a cap
yeah,
on price per ton, etc., then or try to like clamp down on, gain more taxes or less
yeah,
subsidies to
yeah,
a lot of these mining companies, they
yeah.
go batshit crazy as well. So like they don't have any solution in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we've got back to corruption, which is like, okay, well, what corruption? I'm
Which
sure
would,
it
yeah.
exists,
I'm
but
sure, absolutely.
what, yeah, like what corruption? Who precisely are you talking about? Like not just elbow or a t-shirt on a plane or like just like what
Oh,
corruption
there
are you
was
on about?
such a
Like
fuss about
yeah,
Albo
I
wearing
know.
the Joy Division T-shirt on the plane, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then, yeah,
that's it.
the problem with so if we can talk about, so for our overseas listeners, there was across the nation, so in every capital city, they had organized a march, these collection
Mm.
of conspiracy theorists. So I think in Sydney and Melbourne that they wildly over exaggerated the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We touched on it previously around the underwhelming sort of turnout, but they
Yeah.
were somewhat impressed with it.
Mm.
What's worth calling out here as well, and it even in my own content, it hasn't been spoken about enough. But after in the aftermath of that first gathering in it was back in August.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the attack from NSN on camp sovereignty. I think they and for
Okay,
listeners
so let's
overseas, camp.
just unpack that. So,
Mm,
as we know, there was the neo Nazis joined the march, and that was
that's right.
denied, wasn't it, by people like Beck Freedom?
It was, but I mean, it was so blatant. They were so front and center of that march.
Mm.
They were cheered, they were clapped, they were given the center stage.
Yeah,
That it just wasn't even deniable. I mean, they had been even claiming from the outset that they helped organize it behind the scenes. That had
yeah.
been denied, but then during the actual protest itself,
Mm.
um, the NSN were like
Hang on, what's the
whether they
NS? Just explain
oh
that again.
the National Socialist Network,
Which
so
is
the
yeah,
neo-Nazi
yeah, yeah, yeah,
groups in Australia. So I wouldn't even say they hijacked the optics. I think they were welcomed. They were invited to.
yeah,
They marched in front and up front, flags flying. They were bold enough. A lot of them took their face coverings off, and the leader of the NSN group, Thomas Sewell, took podium and
yeah,
was cheered and clapped. And I mean, credit to some in the groups. I mean, there are some footage in various cities where they were booed, but we're talking like a fraction of the crowd. I mean, they were also equally cheered and given
yeah,
center stage. So
100%.
um,
And why do you
after that,
think?
yeah,
Why do you think that that is? What do you think's the underlying psychology of why? I mean, neo Nazis is just a terrible, terrible thing. And I have read awful things about the Holocaust never happened, and
it's disgusting. Yeah,
it's really, really disgusting. And someone was talking about Anne Frank and going as if. So there's
yeah,
all this sort
yeah.
of tampering, this terrible retelling of the narrative and tampering with history. So why do you think that I'll call them the conspiracy theorists just because I don't know, just in case the cookers doesn't quite hit the mark with people. Why do you
Yeah.
think they did so sort of alarmingly align themselves with the neo-Nazis and also sort of stand by while there was that attack on that, what was the camp?
It's camp sovereignty in Melbourne.
And what is
So
that exactly?
I'm probably not best placed to talk about it because I'm not terribly familiar with camp sovereignty.
Mm.
I know it's there, but I don't know its
Yeah.
overarching kind of aims, etc. It'd probably be really valuable to have someone from camp sovereignty on
On.
at some
Yeah.
point to
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
sort of what they do, etc. I should know more about it. I admittedly don't, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It'd be disrespectful for me to speak on what they do
But it's
but
peaceful, right?
it's for Indigenous.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
It's an Indigenous site of significance.
Yeah.
It there's vigils held, and it's near the Shrine of Remembrance, and the way
Yeah.
that it's been likened to me is that it's like an Indigenous shrine to in some regards, and it also it advocates for Indigenous sovereignty,
Yeah.
Indigenous reconciliation, self-determination, etc. So
Yeah.
but it's yeah, I'm probably it's probably doesn't do it justice hearing
No,
an
that's okay. I
animated
think
Gherkin talk about it, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we
But it's a
broadly
site,
understand that it
yeah.
is
It it
well, it's an
it appears
indigenous
even
peaceful camp, right?
that's it.
That's
It's
all,
not
yeah.
even politically aligned to the best of my knowledge. Like it's a pretty apolitical. I mean, it's not a politically aligned necessarily like group or
Yeah.
area. Like it's everybody's welcome there. Like it's
Yeah.
but it was yeah it was blatantly attacked
By who?
um
Who attacked
by
it?
the NSN. So the members of the NSN afterwards, there's footage of it.
Yeah,
It's
there is.
horrendous. So
Yeah.
they all ran up in a line and started, boot kicking women, and there was a disabled elderly chap that they were laying into, and they just yeah just weak little boys, like just unprovoked, unexpected,
Yeah.
snuck up, and that's it. So just weak little boys.
Yeah, weak little boys, that's
So
right.
that
Looking
yeah
for
so
yeah.
yeah so thankfully Thomas Sewell was arrested sort of hours after that. I think the following day
Yeah.
following that assault. and for various other charges, believe he's still in custody, which is good. Been denied bail several times, and so the group itself sort of splintered a bit, or
Yeah,
gone a
they
bit
will
sort
splinter.
of
I know
underground. But
one
yeah,
of
yeah,
his neo-Nazi compatriots was also arrested, and
yeah.
his aunt, there was this really, did you happen to hear his aunt talking? I don't know if it was the 7:30 report
Oh, I think I do
or,
now.
and she gave this really eloquent sort of speech about how devastated the family were that he'd joined.
Yeah, yeah, I do
And
recall that.
yeah, and how they just could not understand how he'd gone in this direction. Um,
Could I do a bit of a shout out for the listeners? I don't know him directly, and I'm not necessarily advocating, but I'd strongly recommend um, Tom Tanuki on YouTube. He does
who
some
is
really
this?
Tom Tanuki. He does some really good uh, long form deep dives on the NSN and other various groups. Like he's
Great.
been following them for years. I'll send you some links.
Yeah, we'll put the links in
Um,
the show
but
notes. That's a good,
you know,
that's a great idea.
he goes into details about how the NSN is into like grooming and other various things, like in terms of how they recruit and how they keep sort of the grooming is a part of trying to keep everyone within the circle, and it's all pretty hideous. The leader himself was likely sort of groomed from a young age into this sort of thing, and it's pretty hideous. But it's worth, if your listeners have the time, or even yourself, Annie, after this, to
Yeah.
um, do a deep dive on it. It's pretty well structured and put together. Like, and
There's
he explains it far
I've
more
just
eloquently than I could.
I've just finished reading Clown Town,
Okay.
which is the story of Andrew Tate.
Yeah,
And it's breathtaking, the philosophy that they are actually championing is astonishing in its absolutely overt
yeah,
misogyny and this constant narrative that they've got going. Andrew Tate, and he had millions and millions of
mm,
followers. So all you need is a boy who's
yeah,
feeling marginalized, who doesn't have a good, strong friendship group, who maybe has
mm,
been, I don't know, rejected by a girl, to sort of join this Andrew Tate ish philosophical group where, in their opinion, men are the ones that are being robbed of their human rights and women have all the power.
mm,
And that is the very much the overarching philosophy of Andrew Tate. And his thing was something called the War Room in Romania. And
yeah,
the men would pay all this money to turn up and fight in a ring. I mean, it's just so sort of primitive, and the ideology about women. And what they did was they would groom the men, groom these boys, and then the
yeah,
boys would get their girlfriends and then do this terrible sort of love bombing and then withdrawing of love and love bombing again. And then
yeah,
they would just turn them into these online sex toys. And that's what they
yeah,
did. It's unbelievable what they got away with. But surely that philosophy of men trying to find some sort of masculinity through this terrible lens, that must also infect the neo Nazis, do you think?
I think so. It's a sense, yeah, and in one of the long form videos that Tom Tanuki does, like he goes into detail about how, one of the issues that they recruit these like young teenage boys into their ranks and make them feel a sense of community and
Yeah.
part of it. But what naturally happens is they get a bit older and they get girlfriends, and any normal person would say, "What are you fucking in that group for?" And so they then, they a lot of the guys drop off because they're like, oh, well, yeah, probably right. Like as soon as they leave
Yeah.
the
The
sort of enclosure of
confines.
that group, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what they then try to do is, well, let's recruit young women then to then be with these young boys, and then it's a perfectly kind of insular kind of circle, and then they'll have kids and they'll raise their kid, and so it's this. Um, it's a pretty hideous, and I'm sure other nasty stuff goes on, but it's that's the theory that's put forward, and it's pretty well. I call it a theory, but it's documented pretty well in some
Oh,
of the long form videos. So,
absolutely.
but
And
yeah, it's yeah,
if you just look at the whole tradwife thing in America as well,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
sort of, and for anybody who's unfamiliar, this is a sort of a Christian right ideology where women are going back to, raising kids, being in the kitchen, being subservient to their husbands. It's very
mm,
American, dressing in aprons. And,
yeah.
they must never ever deny their husband sex because it's his right. And they're even talking about, why would they need voting rights? They just would vote the way their husband votes. So this sort
Mm.
of terrible thread of ideology. And do you think that runs through the cookers as well? What's your opinion on that?
Oh, there's probably some desire for there's always a desire to go back to a different time for a lot of the cookers, to when things were supposedly great. But I just don't think they ever were looking at it from a
Oh,
historical
things never were.
perspective.
No, 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 never, never,
But
never,
there
never.
there is a nostalgia for that sort of thing. But I think for a lot of people, it's just what I've gathered. It's not all of them, but a lot of them, life hasn't worked out the way they thought it would, and so they blame other people rather than being self-reflecting. I mean, there's like I have this like theory, and I back during the lockdown days when we've had a lot of time on our hands, I sort of thought that every villain, every major sort of cooker personality had a almost like a villain sort of origin story, like some sort of traumatic thing that
Really?
happened that made them, yeah. And I had this sort of mental game that I'd play with a friend of mine. I was like, what do you think happened to this person? And you do some deep
Wow.
dives. So I won't go into specifics, but there was one chap who was like he's a nobody now. Like, but at one point he had quite a big following during the Melbourne lockdowns.
Mm.
But looking at like, don't ask me that. Somehow a cousin of his joined and legitimately like a cousin of his joined a crew polling, and we started chatting, and he was saying like back in like 2015, like his mother had passed away of inoperable cancer, which was really sad, right?
Mm.
And it was there'd been some complaints in the months leading up where the mother had gone to the hospital, and it was insisted that she was fine, and it just wasn't picked up for whatever various reasons. I don't know what type of cancer it was or the
Mm. Mm.
specifics, right? But after that, like the dad, the trauma of that sudden loss, the dad and the brother had taken like a hard turn right towards like conspiracy nanobots, like it's all like
Oh,
this sort of
right.
thing, right? And so
Yeah.
in 5 years leading up to the pandemic, like there was just this trauma had conditioned, basically like it was a household of four. There was three. It was the father, two brothers, and the father. There was this chap I'm talking about, his brother, and the sister. Now the sister left home and just got on with their life, but the three of them still in that household had just become completely cooked. And so that's this chap was telling me that, and so that was quite verifiable. And it's like, okay, it's a sad situation. I kind of that's their origin story. I'm not making fun of it,
No, not
but
at all. But
it's
I
interesting.
think,
There are,
yeah, and I think that's
yeah,
an important thing to note that, if you're way less likely to be pulled into some sort of deeply tangled
yeah,
conspiracy theory if you come from a safe, supported,
yeah,
sort of reasonably functional
yeah,
family that probably just listens to the mainstream media. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
And
Like other times,
look,
it's marriage breakdowns. It's like, oh, if only, it's this feminism crap, which is why she doesn't put up with my nonsense. It's sort of like rather than self-reflection, like, I like to think that if my wife sort of said, "Hey, not pulling your weight," or "I'm not content," I'd
mm,
self-reflect and think, what could I do better, rather than going down the Andrew
it's
Tate route and
feminism. Yeah,
thinking,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
it's that darn feminism, she's
Yeah.
having independent thoughts again, that
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. How
I
dare
don't know. I'm
she?
I'm broadly generalizing, but I think it's a combination of those like traumatic things happen to people. life doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, which is can be traumatic in itself, rather than self-reflecting, which is painful. It's just easy to blame,
Yeah, absolutely. And
a
to blame the systems.
chemtrails or
Yeah.
a pilot 30,000 feet up spraying, and that's,
The
all that nonsense. But
chemtrails, the chemtrails,
oh,
they've been going nuts lately. And there's
they're
another woman
going,
on
yeah,
online. I
yeah,
won't say her name,
yeah.
but she is an advocate of washing herself and drinking aged urine,
Oh,
which is a favorite among some of the cookers. I don't get it, but it's very, very well documented. A lot
yeah,
of them consume aged urine and wash in it and fix their pets. I don't know what they do. I don't want to think too much about it. But
yeah.
she has she sort of lives this sort of itinerant life washing herself in her urine, and she's lost control of her children. They have been removed from her.
Mm, wow.
Well, and so she, of course, goes to court and stands there, talking about her aged urine and why can't she have the children back, blaming the system, like blaming the
Yeah,
system that she's not allowed access. Well, she looks completely mad, and probably what
yeah,
she needs is to have mental health support, right?
yeah. She
But
got it. Is there a bloke on the scene or a partner or
she's
supporting or
she's on her own. Her partner has her
yeah, yeah,
children, and of course she's
yeah,
devastated and furious about not having access. Well, why would you allow your children to have access to somebody who's completely mad? But
yeah,
instead of
exactly.
her getting the psychological support, that she needs, she's sort of
Yeah,
wandered into these deeply strange theories about urine and chemtrails and big pharma, and of course she's lost.
it's
She's
a sense of
completely
control as
lost.
well,
Yeah,
isn't
it
it?
is. It
Like
is a sense. Yep, yep,
she can't control anything else, but she can control piss, and so that's
yeah.
the golden fountain or whatever whatever
Whatever
they
she
call
wants
it.
to call it. It's really
Yeah,
common,
yeah, that's it.
as is people using black salve to fix their skin cancers or whatever, which is
Mm,
this corrosive substance. And there's been a recent legal court case around the woman. I'm not going to use any names who was selling it. And so they just move somewhere else and call it something else and keep
yeah,
selling it. And people end up with, an inch deep cavity in
yeah.
their face, but they're like, no, no, it really works because it's not big pharma. It's really mad. It's
Yeah, and
really, really mad.
my wait till my naysaying kids see it being cured, and it's almost like, again, it's like for a lot of these older people,
Yeah,
it's a sense of losing control. Their kids now are adults who are probably looking after them to some extent, or at least, and saying, "Mum, you shouldn't be using that,"
yeah,
and it's hard for them to sort of like to come to terms with that reality. So
yeah.
they are. They're secretly going to use this elixir or whatever it is to cure them. And
It's called black
I've,
salve. It's
yeah, that's it.
terrible. It's
Yeah, I've read a few of those posts recently, and yeah, one of them said that, well, they're using it on a melanoma, quite an advanced melanoma on their hand,
great.
and they're like, my naysaying daughter, wait till she sees how good this is working and stuff. And it almost just seemed they were just using it out of defiance, just to sort
Yeah.
of show their kids that they still knew better.
I
And
wonder if there
again,
is some, I wonder how much defiance plays into this whole.
oh, hugely it does.
Mm.
Yeah, the whole. I think massively it does.
I mean, I think that's a very interesting discussion about some of the psychological issues that underpin these belief
Yeah.
systems. And I just wish we as debunkers and skeptics had more influence over some of these ideologies, because I see young people being infected with them, and it really, really worries me. And it must worry you as well. You have
Oh,
children.
it does. Yeah, young children, young daughters, and it. Yeah, like that's it. Like my daughters have to grow up, and yeah, my daughters have to grow up in the world with these. So yeah,
Yeah,
with these sort of people. So
but
yeah.
be hopeful, because my children are adults now, and neither of them have a conspiracy thinking bone in their body. They're highly skeptical. So living in the house with you, I'm feeling pretty confident your daughters are going to be okay.
I think so. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. But
So
yeah.
thanks for that, listeners. Please tune in for our next episode where Snarky and I talk about the cooker wars. Thanks for tuning into Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, in a car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together, we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.